we're gonna have to switch the platforms. I think it's YouTube is fine now. I hope that we're going to be able to find a better way of doing this, so we won't have to have these breaks like we're having right now. I'm gonna have to apologize to folks on YouTube much later, but we're doing everything we can. Please bear with us. A second, please. Just need to set some things on YouTube. Let's call this one 7B, part 7B. All right, great. So, I think Facebook is fine. All right, so we're talking about development earlier. Something cool is about to happen. Just ICT Hub. The new hub, 336 key clamp stalls, 1,020 market stalls, 24 premium shops, 5,000-seater exhibition hall, and there will also be ICT incubator complex. There will be assemblage warehouses, office accommodations. There will be residential and lifestyle area with 128 two-bedroom apartments. There will be 3 standalone food courts, 12 kitchen or bukas with 300 seats each, 1 terrace food court, and budget hotels and restaurants. There will be car parks, about 2,500 plus capacity, helipad, OPD clinic, police station and fire services, banking halls, potable water and waste management. This is going to be developed by Bridgeways Global Project in partnership with the Lagos State government. So folks in Computer Village Ikeja are being relocated to Katangoa ICT Business Park. I have here the model, the proposed facility and the model for those things, and it's quite nice, and I hope that by the time it's done, all the nonsense where they happen for Ikeja don't come out, because by the way, they've given them now 1 year and 6 months to move to the new market. So folks will have to be relocating from Ikeja. That place originally was actually a residential area. It wasn't supposed to be for business, but you know how things they go for Nigeria. May God save us from any illness. But hopefully, with this one being done, we'll have a proper there are a few things I want to say to us Yoruba people, but before I get into that, for some time now, we've been talking about a young lady who has just been funny. So there's a king, he's in Osun State actually, Oba Omotoyosi Bayo Akinleye. He put out a statement, in fact a couple of statements actually, a couple of days ago. He says, my team and I arrived in Lagos this morning. This was a few days ago. But what's today's date? No, this was 2 days ago actually, yeah. Clear to approach Miss Uzo's matter legally through court by seeking an outright violence between otherwise peaceful residents and the indigenous. The young lady then said something quite interesting, that she said that she had some sponsors to the date of the event. All of this because that's why I said sometimes that, and it's not just online, people are actually doing stuff. So there's going to be a perpetual injunction on that building, but now she has moved and she's not announcing the venue until further notice. By the way, in all of this, you see, I haven't seen the person who is wise enough to actually acknowledge that, see, that one is not part of our own MO. But I mean, good stuff. being done by Yoruba people pushing back and also drawing a line in this when it comes to disrespect to our heritage. Yeah, that's actually very good. So Nigeria is bidding to host the Commonwealth Games in 2030, and I'd like to just play one second, please. I'd like to play something from the presidency on this, and it's something that will show support. So take a listen to this, please.
In 1930, in Hamilton, Canada, the Commonwealth Games were born. For 100 years, they circled the globe. But in all their history, one continent has never been called host: Africa. Now, in 2030, as the Games reach their centenary, the circle must be complete. In the heart of Africa stands Abuja, the capital city of Nigeria, the Commonwealth's largest youth nation. 2030, Afrobeats, where Nollywood shares the stage with netball, where tradition meets tomorrow.
We are set to go, and I join all of you to
sports evaluation team of this conversation, as we have the honor to host 3 of the 16 sports on the Abuja 2030 bid, namely football, table tennis, and beach volleyball. I start by appreciating the wise decision of the National Sports Commission and the Commonwealth Games Nigeria for giving Lagos this responsibility. I also pledge to provide the necessary facilities and associated requirements of Commonwealth sports to ensure that the 2030 Games is successfully delivered.
A century ago, the Games began in Hamilton. In 2030, the story must be complete in Africa, in Abuja. The first Games on African soil, the Commonwealth Centenary Games.
Nigeria is a country of diverse nature, and Nigeria is welcome to all of us. We have the brain, we have the energy, we have the population, the youth. We are showing that Nigeria is truly ready and open for business.
All right, so I hope that works out for Nigeria. They were able to host the Games in 2030. Someone is asking a question here on TikTok. Is asking if I've heard about the push of the indigenous bill that Igbo man is trying to push again. No, he's not trying to push it again. He's not trying to push it again. He's not trying to push it again. The bill was withdrawn in... The bill was... They had a hearing in... the reading, second reading, I think was in March. And then they had public hearing. And then it was withdrawn in July. And what they did a couple of days ago was the national public. I've checked it everywhere. You know, I see a lot of people saying it, and I think it's okay to, say but it's not like there's anything concrete that is being done to bring it back. So that's quite good. And then, but that's also they will not bring it back again. No, but whatever they do, will be here to make sure that it doesn't work. because it is a plan of a thief. Let me put it this way: it's a plan of a thief's mindset. I'm not saying the person is a thief, but that mindset is the mindset of a thief. I'm trying to own people's spaces. That will not work. All right. So, I'd like to speak to you, Yoruba people. Something is brewing, and I think people should be careful. I'll play this video. I'll say something about it. And Tabashin by Irubi Kamaba, Irunawi, Ona Gotan, Shetego ko Mokpolo Dani. But Elimam got more something about Tabati Bo Fono or my ye. So please take a listen to this. By the way, if you're on YouTube, I apologize for the break earlier, for the disruption. That's entirely out of waiting I feel doing anything about our network or something. So I apologize for that. But please like the live. Let's like the live, all right? Thank you very much. I'm glad we're here now. But please let's just double tap on the screen, like the live, share the live as well. That way we can reach more people. This thing happened in Ilorin. I'm going to play it now. I think it's disheartening. It should not be happening in Yoruba land. It's ridiculous. And it's important that Yoruba people actually speak on this matter, which is why I'm playing it. I know they might come out with it, but or and if you're keeping it a buck, right, it makes no sense. But you know what, let me just play it. Please take a listen to this. It's a shame, by the way, but take a listen.
Èyí mo ní fún mi. Irọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ní ẹja pàbó gbájú.
Ẹ kí ló dé tẹ̀ ń fídíò?
Fídíò for reference. Kọ́ lè mọ̀ pé àbájá wa ni.
Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀? Kí la ṣe?
Èyí sàn fídíò.
Ẹ máa bá bàbá sọ̀rọ̀.
Ẹ bá bàbá wa gbà sọ̀rọ̀.
Ẹ̀yin ẹ̀ kámẹ́rà wa ọgbẹ́ ta. Wọ́n ti bá dábàá wò. Tí wọ́n máa di pé bẹ́ẹ̀ tí wọ́n wá dé àbí wọn wá ní kí ni wọ́n sọ tí wọ́n bá jà wọn bí wọn bá jà wọn.
Alájẹ ìdàlàyé fún wọn.
Nígbà tá a wá gbọ́ lánàá wọ́n ní wà lẹ́yìn tó parí ìjọba ẹ̀sìn ọba ìyá àárọ̀ ọba bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ̀dá ni àfẹ́ lónìí ìgbà bá wà lọ́sọ̀ fún wa dé.
Ṣé o bàbá mi? Ọlọ́run ní bàjẹ́. Ọlọ́run ní bàjẹ́.
Wọ́n náà máa bọ̀ á gbọ́ wọ́n padà. Ìdàkùn bí ìbá ti sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ má sọ sí mọ́.
Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ pé òkun, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Elédùmarè. Èmi tẹ́ ń wò níwájú yín yìí, mi kì í sáré nílùú Ìlọrin o. Ọmọ bíbí ìlú Ìlọrin gangan ni mí. Ọmọ ilé Àríàgò, ilé bàbá mi nílé ọmọ Arógunmọ́sà ní Táíwò Sàlẹ̀. Ilé ìyá tó bí mi lọ́mọ níta Àmọ́dù. Nílé Olóróró níta Àmọ́dù nílé ìyá tó bí mi lọ́mọ. Sótìyé, oko Olúwa àfọ́n láàsà láfọ́n ni. Mi èdè ṣàjòjì nílùú Ìlọrin. Kódà ọba Ìlọrin gan mọ̀. Sótìyé, tẹ́ ẹ bá dé ọjọ́ ọba tẹ́ ẹ dé Ìlọrin gbogbo èmi ní sáìdì Takúrè gbogbo ẹ̀ ilé ààrẹ Jímbà àyàn gbogbo wọn báyẹn. Ẹ lè dárúkọ sófin láyọ̀ ọmọ àjílé ní ìkísàlejò. Sótìyé, mi è sí àlejò. Mùsùlùmí sì ni bàbá tó bí mi lọ́mọ. Lè mọ́mù ni bàbá mi. Sótìyé, ó ti jẹ́ pé ó ti jẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́.
Èmi tí ń bá sọ̀rọ̀
mọ́ mọ́ sí.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ máa ń sọ̀rọ̀ àìjà ẹ̀jọ̀ sọ kẹ̀kẹ́ tó béèrè pẹ́ńsì àwọn sí ìgbà tí wọ́n láìpẹ́ láì.
Ó dà ìfẹ́ kí n sọ, kò yé mi fún, ó dà ìfẹ́ kí n sọ̀rọ̀ kankan mọ́.
Máa sọ̀rọ̀.
Kí ló dé?
Nígbà tí wọ́n bá.
Kí ló dé? Ṣé tí wọ́n gbé jì ni? Ẹ dákun.
Jòkó ní ọjà ájú olè lọ.
Bàbá Àjàní.
Mo ní òjòkó jẹ́. Àwa mú yín.
Èmi ti rí ojú kan ní mo ní
àwa mú yín.
ìjàlẹ̀ ọmọ làárọ̀ ọjọ́ fúnni wa tẹ̀lé sílẹ̀ yìí. Ó dẹ̀ ń wò pé bàbá yìí àgbàlagbà ni bàbá yìí náà dẹ̀ ní àgbàlagbà ni wọ́n. Ọ̀rọ̀ tí tẹ̀ ń sọ ọ̀rọ̀ àgbàlagbà tí wọ́n sọ lẹ́nu. Àwọn ìdúró tẹ̀ ń ṣe tẹ̀ ń jáná sí ìdúró ìjàlẹ̀ dúró fún mi. wa ẹrù obodo mi
Excuse me.
ẹni tí ó wọdù ìlòmínú ńkọ́ so ti yẹ yín báyẹn ẹrù obodo mi ẹ sí àlejò nílùú lẹ́yìn.
And came in and said, oh, you know, while majority may be Muslim today, it doesn't change the fact that at the core of our culture as Yoruba people is, you know, I used to say religious tolerance, but I had a conversation with my mentor, I think about 2 weeks ago. Tolerance, and I said, yes, sir. Mutual respect. My mentor is a Christian, but he's also somebody who is deep in Ifa. It's a professor, and it was like, you know, we're believers, we are Christians, but that the conversation has to be of mutual respect, not just to tolerate. So, because that is who we are as Yoruba people. Left to me, I would want everybody to be Christians, because it's a path that I've discovered that works, and I've seen things about it, but that's not this topic. That's what I would prefer. If I'm preaching, I will preach Christ, as far as faith is concerned. When it comes to the society, Yoruba society, it's not a place where one religion has to be held above the other and you have to suppress the others because you think that yours is the way. Even though I know it's the way, I mean, as far as culture is concerned, which also interestingly aligns with Christianity, you cannot force people to do anything. You cannot force people, because if you do it, so because we have a majority in a particular town, what of the towns where you don't have as many people as the one where you have people? And then so we only have fault zones, like minefields in our own society, and we have to be very, very careful. And one of those things is religion. And for the most part, I don't know what happened in the last few years. It's like a release of extremists in different religions. Extremists. Everybody's just cursing each other. Ẹ̀sìn tó torí ẹ̀ pé máa fọ́ orí ọmọ làkejì mi kò yé wọn o. Ìtara láìsí ọgbọ́n náà ni gbogbo nǹkan tá a rí ń bẹ̀. Ìtara láìsí òye, ìtara láìsí ìmọ̀. This is Yoruba land. This is not any other. This is Yoruba land. And I've said this several times. We are blessed with láti ilẹ̀ oríṣiríṣi òòṣà. Tá bá sọ pé ẹlẹ́sìn àbáláyé nísìnyí wọn dàbí nǹkan sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ àti lódodo kì í ṣe ẹ̀sìn kan ló ń jẹ́ ẹ̀sìn àbáláyé. It's a group of different religions. They also had issues, but we have evolved to the point where you àbí rúnmọlẹ̀ ìkan lè máa bọ èṣù oníkàkùn mọ́ bóyá ń ṣe tiẹ̀. Ibi tọ́rọ̀ Yorùbá fọ́nì sí ni pé ẹ máa rí èèyàn tó jẹ́ pé ìlú ò lè túbà pẹ̀lú gbogbo rándanrandan ẹ̀sìn wo ni wọ́n ń ṣe tó bá ṣẹ̀sìn yẹn ìwọ mọ̀ kankan ìwọ tó mọ̀ kankan kò tẹ̀ sẹ́ni tí kìíní yóò tá bá o. This is not it's them, it's me, it's them. In the video we just listened to happens to be some interesting characters who went to a person's private property to question her about her faith. What audacity do you have? What right do you have to question that person? This is Yoruba land. Ibi tí o gbọ́ wọn náà funny sí ni pé in UAE, the government in UAE built a church. They even have a synagogue, a place for Judeans to worship Jews. There's a mosque of their mosques, but there's a church. This is 2025. And the good thing is that we have done this thing. And I'm going to wò lára ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ní ẹ̀ pé kí báwo làwọn people ṣe ń ṣe kíní yìí báwo ṣe ń ṣe tẹ́ pé inú ìdílé kan máa rí oríṣiríṣi nínú oríṣiríṣi ẹ̀sìn nínú ilé kan wọ́n dẹ̀ jà nínú ẹbí kan gan àbí nínú agboolé àbí nínú ìdílé àbí nínú àdúgbò kò dẹ̀ sí kankan tó wọ́n ti ń wò pé báwo lè ṣe ń ṣe gbàtẹ́nu wa máa bọ ọ̀rọ̀ jẹ́ àwọn tó lè ṣerú ẹ̀ lọ́dọ̀ wọn àwọn tó ń tí ì débi tẹ́yìn ti dé wọ́n á sọ fún yín pé bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń ṣe yẹn kọ́ ló ṣe ń ṣe o ẹnu wa gba wèrè mẹ́sìn ẹ wá ń tan torchlight ẹnu láti lé sílé ẹ̀sìn wo ni wọ́n ń ṣe tó bá ti ṣe tèmi àwọn dàgbé kí n tún ti stop o tó bá ti ṣe tèmi kíníkan tó bá fẹ́ wàásù nǹkan tó ń ṣe o lè lọ báyàn kó wàásù okay o lè lọ báyàn kó wàásù I hope YouTube is fine okay o lè lọ báyàn kó wàásù pé nǹkan báyìí o a fẹ́ ṣe nǹkan báyìí ṣé wàá wá o ṣùgbọ́n o lè lọ máa bèrè pé kí ni wọ́n ń ṣe o gbọ́dọ̀ ṣe ta ni wọ́n jẹ́ kí ni báwo ni tiẹ̀ ṣe jẹ́ nǹkan tó bá oníkàlùkù lè ṣe kọ̀rọ̀ yàrá ẹ̀ a máa gbà fúnra wa ni and we have to remember where we are from. And again, just in case you come up to this is not in case you come up when the time comes to speak on this matter, this has nothing to do with is that person's fault, is this person's fault. If you are coming up here and you say that, I will take you down. I don't have time for let's blame the other person. Gbogbo ala ni lára níbi tá a bá dé ń sìn ẹ pé ilé ti bú mi jù mí náà fẹ́ bú máa bú yẹ inú bàbá máa bú ta ló bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní ọdún tó kọjá nítúntà lẹ́sì ó ṣẹlẹ̀ báyìí kò sẹ́ni ẹ fi gbogbo yẹn lẹ̀. The point is that ọ̀nà tá à ń gbọ́rọ̀ gbà fọlẹ́lẹ́ yìí alright kò sẹ́ni nǹkan tó bá fẹ́ kàn bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe nǹkan kò sí nǹkan tó ní kó má fẹ́ràn kó àwọn ẹ̀bẹ̀ ṣe nǹkan kó má bá wọn sọ pé ẹ wá bá mi ṣe eléyìí o eléyìí mọ̀ ṣe ẹ wá bá mi ṣe o ṣùgbọ́n kò sí àyè pé nǹkan tó ń ṣe yẹn a lè ṣe níbí yìí. There's no theocracy. And this goes to everyone. There is no theocracy. There has never been a theocracy in Yoruba land. Whether from traditional point of view, Islam or Christianity, there is no theocracy. It's a secular space. It's a secular space. And it allows for different religious expressions. And if you want people to do, oh dear, sorry guys. And if you want people to do what you want, like maybe this religion, you want them to participate in that, and there's nothing bad about it. You talk to them about it. Shema she, ogba, kogba, ko faja, ninu ko sijambe, nka wele mabate lo. We've got to be very careful because there are some points that and this is one of those points when it comes to this whole religion thing. We don't need this kind of thing in Yoruba land. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. Yoruba elders solved this. I mean, they gave us example way back in the 12th century. This is 2025. In the 1100s, they chose to send priests, Ifa priests, to Mali to learn and understand what Islam was all about. Facts. To study it, not so that they could become Muslims, but so they would understand. And when Islam came, there was a way they treated it. And again, it was not always peaceful amongst us as Yoruba people, amongst us, even amongst the traditional religious worshippers. It was not always peaceful, but they evolved to the point where they were able to live together regardless of their differences. We can't be devolving in 2025. And please, in case you want to speak on this matter when you come up, please, I don't want to hear that it is somebody's fault, it's another person's fault. That's not today's topic. If you notice what I've been saying it, we don't apportion blames and start saying, they will know better, telling you that, all right. That's the last thing I think I want to talk about. There's another one, but I think we just have people come up. We have about 15 minutes. We'll have your reactions, and then we'll go to the topic of today. Once you get up, thank you. Please mute. Please mute. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Excuse me. So we have 3 people. Thank you. So we're going to do 3 minutes each. Let's start with FFT. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Chief.
Thank you so much for the work you've been doing, and God bless you for every time you are trying to help us Yoruba people. And even Nigeria too, and the black race. So my own. It's not like I'm not picking who's at fault or anything, but my admonition is to Muslims. I used to be a Muslim, or can I say I'm a Muslim, but I'm not religious. But there's one thing I feel like they've forgotten about. I think people need to really read history about religion, even anything you read about history. In the early times, and they didn't force other people to do the religion they brought. So why is it that in 2025 you are going to people's houses to ask for what religion are they doing? That is not what Islam is about. That is not what is written in any hadith or any Quran. So I don't expect any Muslim that is learned, that is not, an extremist to behave like that. And I think we should do better. And coming from someone like me, I don't think any Muslim should say that as something that I'm attacking them, because I'm also a Muslim. But I don't buy that idea. I saw the video and it was not nice. It was not nice. So that's what I'm just that's the point that I'm trying to make today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that, FFT, and thank you for making it quick. I really appreciate your submission. We'll go to the next person, the man with the corn. I can't see your name, but I see corn. Hello.
Hi.
Corn, Henry
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I see your name now.
Yes, Henry Buzzer. Yes, Henry Buzzer.
It's Buzzer. Okay, your own Buzzer has one Z.
I'm happy to be on this platform.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Happy to have you.
Good afternoon. Well, thank you. One thing I believe that everybody should have rights to his or her own religion, to choose whoever to follow. You don't have to enforce your religion on someone. This is 21st century, for God's sake. Everything that is going on rally around this religions. In terms of political, is still religion. Want to vote for this set of people, don't vote for this set of people. It shouldn't be. Everybody should have rights to choose whatever religion you want to follow. And I don't believe this religious war that is going on, that has been for long, and I think it's the right time for us to stop. And let's embrace, if my brother chooses to follow this religion, let's try and embrace it. Let's learn what he sees in that religion, not you taking your religion over his own religion, that okay, you must do my own religion. Our forefather, before Christianity, before Islam came into Nigeria, they have and they were discussing a lot of issues. So I believe that everybody should live in peace, accept religion your brother brings in, and I think this world would be in a better place, would be the best place for us to live in. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that submission. I really appreciate it. Let's go to the next person, Yem Joe.
Yeah, good afternoon, my brother.
Afternoon,
good afternoon, everybody. Yeah. My own submission is many of these people, we try to handle religion, even the ones that we borrow. We want to practice it even more than the people that brought it to us. I have not been to Israel, but I heard there's mosque in Israel. I've not been to Saudi Arabia, but I heard there's church in that place also. So why is it that we cannot tolerate each other?
There's no church in Saudi Arabia, Shao.
Okay,
there's no church in Saudi Arabia, Shao. If you do use that example. Yes.
Okay, but they have in Dubai. Have you?
No, I just put your legs, but it's true, Sharp. Yes, they do.
Okay, so now we that we are here, we are brothers and sisters. Why is it that we allow religion to divide us. We should preach love. You should be able to persuade me and let me see reason why I should join, not to force me against my wish. And everybody, we believe we have rights to religion in Nigeria. And Nigeria is not a one religion country. So I believe if you are telling the other person you don't have right here, you don't have right there, it means that such person is even against the law of the land, because the law of the land did not differentiate any religion that this is the best religion that everybody must follow. So for this reason, we should learn to love each other and live as one. Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. I really appreciate your submission. That is something all of us should be. We should note. All right. Let's go to the next person very quickly. And by the way, all you guys who have been speaking, thank you very much for making it very snappy, very quick. We'll go to the next person, Mr. Lani. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for what you've been doing. All we have for you, just God should bless you, guide you, and give you more wisdom and strength.
Amen.
Thank you for what you've been doing. I think what we are witnessing is negligence in the past 20 years or thereabouts, especially in Kwara and Oyo State. Those days that we have tolerance in Yoruba land. I'm driving to something. Those days, Oyo and Kwara, those days that we have tolerance in Yoruba side, the Muslim always combine religion and education together. Even in missionary school, we separate. There's a separate day on Friday that always read Al-Fatiha. There is this. I mean, and what kind of a job you want to do? They become Alpha. If you go to the side in Oyo State also, there's this camp now that one Alpha, I don't know what his name. The guy just put children in that camp, and all of them centralize their outing on only Arabic. They don't want to study their culture. They say our culture has, sin, and they say our way of life as, what do you call it? Nothing, infidel. Look at what the North is suffering today. What the North is suffering today is improper planning of yesterday. Look at our common school. What do you expect the kind of children? Look at the Boko Haram today. Who are the Boko Harams? They are 20 years downward, 30 years downward. Those are the kids that were born in 1990 something, year 2000. Those are the kids that are disturbing us today. Those are the kids, the politicians or any crazy person will just pick them and say you are fighting for one internal life. What do you expect them? They need to balance it. Send them to. If you want to be a Muslim, fine, but you need to understand the Western education also and balance it together. So we won't be seeing what we are seeing today. Much. Look at those Alpha Ilorin. Those are the people that always disturb that. You have to do my.
Mr. Lani, thank you very much. Thank you, Esho. We'll go to. That's a very, very important point. I don't know about people doing that, but I know that generally, because I know Yoruba people will still they do masjid, they have their classes, and it doesn't stop them from going to school. So they go to school for the most part. The ones I know, the last I checked, it was in the morning. They go to school in the morning, and then when they get back from school, they go to learn Arabic, and then they go home later in the evening. I think that's what Yoruba people do for the most part. I think that's what we should continue doing. We don't want to let our society become breeding ground for extremists on all sides. All right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Lani. Let's go to Olekan. And by the way, everybody, thank you very much for keeping it short. So please, the next speakers, please learn from those.
Good afternoon.
Empress, yes, Sebekio. Afternoon, sir.
Ọlọ́run àtúbọ̀ máa fún yín ní okun àtagbára láti máa keep it, giving us this. First and foremost, I want to. It's an achievement from her too. Okay. Then, secondly, regarding this religion stuff, I'm looking at it from another dimension. What I make mention concerning pé Yorùbá ni wá. Àti wá gbàgbé wí pé Yorùbá ni wá. there's something you said about ẹ̀sìn àbáláyé. Me, I'm a Muslim. Mo dẹ̀ sọ ńgbà kan pé mo kéwú dáadáa. Then I believe that ó dà pé torí wípé àmọ́ Ọlọ́run, majority of people did not understand the concept of God. Elédùmarè nílẹ̀ Yorùbá kò jẹ́ ká mọ̀ pé n tí Yorùbá ń pè ní ẹ̀sìn àbáláyé virtually gbogbo ẹ̀sìn ni. And I remember nínú course of this classes tẹ sọ pé nígbà kan ẹnìkan wá rí Ọọ̀ni àbí Ọọ̀ni meet ẹnìkan Ọọ̀ni wá ń sọ fẹ́ni ẹ pé ẹ̀yin náà nínú ilé yín wà ní Ifẹ̀, which is outrightly ó ń try láti máa take me back to how genuinely ni. Okay, ẹ fẹ́ correct me fún nǹkan kan.
It was Aláàfin who told. Okay. So the wise men were in Ibadan, and then Higgins. This was in 1886.
Okay.
Then of course another group was in Oyo, and then they were told that Ife Loriron, and that's where we're coming. So it's Aláàfin that said that referred to Ife. Yes.
Outrightly, tó bá jẹ́ pé gbogbo bá understand yẹ pé ẹ̀sìn àbáláyé, because nǹkan tí Yorùbá máa pè nìyẹn ẹ̀sìn àbáláyé, ara àwọn tó ń bọ Ọ̀ṣun, àwọn tó ń bọ Ṣàngó, àwọn tó ń bọ Ọya. So Christianity, Islam, ẹ̀sìn tá a bá láyé náà ni. In fact, tá a bá tiẹ̀ fi dídà àwa tá a wà láyé nìsín, we all met this religion, but understanding wa ń pé understand the concept Elédùmarè. Honestly, ká ní bàbá understand the concept Elédùmarè ni a máa mọ̀ pé gbogbo àwọn ẹ̀sìn yìí ọ̀tọ̀dọ̀ ló ti wá. That is it. Àwọn onítọ̀ríkà wọ́n fi náà understand the concept Ọlọ́run náà fi lè mọ̀ pé no, you don't have to ní láti condemn ẹ̀sìn kankan because Ọlọ́run lọ́ba tó dá gbogbo ẹ̀. So I just believe that we should understand being Yorùbá tá a jẹ́. Ó máa fún wa ní understanding, á fún wa ní more knowledge about how to accommodate àwọn other faiths too. So kò jẹ́ bí nǹkan tí èmi confess on bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ ṣé gan. Thank you, sir.
Ẹ ṣé, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And someone in the comment section, I think it's okay. Stream says, no religion came from Ọlọ́run. Now we create a way to communicate with Ọlọ́run, sir. The funny thing is that most of us don't even create a way to communicate with Ọlọ́run. We create a way to communicate with others. But it's a very good point as well. And it's important. What's religion? Maybe on that day we'll have a session on these things. You know, people say some people have religion, some people don't have religion. Interestingly, I was thinking about this earlier today. As Christians, sometimes we don't discuss religion, and we're talking about the faith, and the terminology can mean different things in different contexts. But generally speaking, religion basically is the system that we put in place, right, to be able to with the spiritual, right? So another thing is that without having to, I don't want to change the topic and spend too much time on this, but the important thing I think you said is this, that I think the lesson there is that everybody should respect the others, regardless of what anybody does. If you want to preach your faith to another person, preach. I'm a Christian, and what we believe is that it's the Holy Spirit that convicts. In other words, if I preach to you, my words can't make you do anything. The Holy Spirit has to convict. So if the Holy Spirit that convicts that person, if the Holy Spirit convicts and say no, you can't force faith. You can't. So I hope that people also remember these things. But thank you very much for that submission. We have Mark Bull and one more person that will call it a day on reactions. So Mark Bull, you have 2 minutes, please. Or Mark Bleeds.
Good afternoon, sir. Are you with me?
Good afternoon.
Yes, you see, I think that kind of extremism in the religion is actually way wrong. And I think some of those people who are actually learned in the religion should understand the fact. Let's be frank with ourselves. I'm a Muslim, and I came from a very funny family. You have a Muslim, you have Christian, you have those who worship Ifa, Shango. Let's be frank with ourselves. Me myself, when I was younger, I stayed with my grandma, who is a Oshun worshiper. Forget it, oh. Sometimes I used to tell people that I used to eat batala like every year. It's day to day. But now I can't eat it again because I understand my religion. But that doesn't mean I go against other people. Okay, my father is not that practicing like me. And sometimes, okay, instead of saying he's not practicing, let's say he's more of the traditional line. You tell him, say, I make a lot. He went to Hajj. But whenever we are talking, we are sitting on Sunday, and it was like, the only issue we can have between ourselves is just religion. And for the fact that we both understand that fact, we know we don't tell ourselves, okay, oh, this is. Do your home, I do my home. In Islam, there is a la ikra afiddin. There is no enforcement with religion. Don't enforce your religion on other people. If they can see, okay, well, this is what your religion.
Maybe it's his network or something, but I think we got the point that I was trying to make, to be honest. So we're good with that. Thank you very much, Mark Bleeds, for that submission, and it's important that we remember all these things. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Mark Bleeds, sorry. I think it's my moderator who mistakenly. You have to unmute yourself though. In 8 seconds. I think you can do it now. Please go on.
Okay, now I'm saying, like, we in Yoruba land, we have several families with diverse religions. I am, as a person, I'm a Muslim. I practice by Islam. My father is not that practicing. He will tell you he believes in his forefathers' religion, and I have no issue with it. It's not coming against the religion. We are fine with ourselves. My grandma is a clearly traditional worshiper. So I don't know why people will just go ahead going to other people's house and disturbing them that, okay, if they are not Muslim, they can't do this. It's very wrong. Islam is not that way. When Islam took over the likes of Rome, Spain, it was never like that. It was never like that. I don't know, are they going to be practicing the religion more than those who actually met the prophet or who actually took mantle from the prophet? Wrong now. If you find out, you discover these people do not know anything about the religion. Absolutely. So that's just it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the last time.
First news item was the only one that we all spoke on, which is okay. The important thing is that Bashen sọ̀rọ̀ bí Nigeria ṣe máa dá, Bashen sọ̀rọ̀ bí ká má jẹ́ kí àwọn ará ọ̀hún kan wọ àárín wa àbí kan bà nǹkan jẹ́ àbí kan ṣe nǹkan kan sí orí YouTube. Ó ga ọ́. YouTube. Ó ga ọ́. Ọlọ́run máa jọ sún yàn báyìí. Àwọn tí a wà lórí YouTube yẹn gan, it's gone off again. Oh, it's not gone off. Oh, good. By the way, I'm also trying to understand how that app works. But I think it's good. Beyond looking at how to protect our space from outsiders, we also have to protect ourselves from certain mindsets and ideologies that can actually destroy our home. And we can't do that blaming anyone. What I said, well, I'm glad you didn't come up, but please let's stop it. What you have in Saudi Arabia is not what we have in Nigeria. See, there's no theocracy in Yoruba land. So when you do all this comparison, does Saudi Arabia have a church? Why should they have a church? It's a theocracy. Ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ni wọ́n ṣe lè ìlú méjèèjì, ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ni nǹkan tí wọ́n fi ń rànnù àbí Yorùbá o. Ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ni bí wọ́n ní ká kó ṣe ń ṣe ìlú ẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n àwa ń tiwa while Saudi is theocratic, we have a secular society. And when I say we have a secular society, I'm not saying because of Nigeria. The concept of having secular societies as Yoruba people predates Nigeria. We have always been secular. We've always had multiplicity of one of many, right? And I want us to also be careful. So, let's not take anything to the extreme. Let's not turn things, into in the name of and things like that. I want to just read from YouTube, some comments on YouTube. Kubu, good afternoon, good to see you, ma'am. It says Apostle Babalola, the greatest Christian. There's no greatest anything because the evangelist of Yoruba land was from Kwara. Was he? I don't know about that. But that would be interesting to know. Mr. Busui, you have to join Don. The organization will need someone like you. Thanks. Thank you, sir. I thought it was from Ekiti too. But we'll learn some of these things. I think there's another thing I want to talk about before we go on. Kwara is not Ilorin. I know I've said it before, but it's important to say it again. Kwara is not Ilorin. Kwara is a state. Ilorin is a town. There are many towns in Kwara State, including Ekiti. Okay, most of the Yoruba places are not Ilorin. Or is not Ilorin. Ilorin is just one. It's of course the major city, the capital of this place, but it's like saying Ibadan is Oyo State. Ibadan is a major town in Oyo State, but it's not all of Oyo State. It's important to remember these things so that we don't, go on with the wrong narrative about, what's about Kwara? What's about Kwara? Bano Shen Kwara. Brian Koloshe Jail. Ikejara Keji ni wọ́n ti ń ṣiṣẹ́ ńgbà tí pé dé àbí PWD, I think it was with PWD, Public Works Department. Ẹjọ́ ẹran létí o. They are from Ekiti LGA in Kwara, Osi town to be precise. Exactly. There are some Ekiti towns in Kwara State. All right. You live in Odowa. What happened in Ikejara Keji? You were not take by Ekpe àbí. We went there more so for me. Ṣebí kò sáwọn ará sí ìsinmi bí ni I'm right àbí ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ mo fẹ́ fi sure náà ni. All right. Please, if you're on YouTube, right, please let me know if you're having a great time, like if it's streaming properly. Please let me know, because I want to make sure that you're having a great experience. So please, if you have any issues, let me know. If we have to stop and restart, we will do it. But please let me know. All right, just write in the comment section and I'll find it. So if you just say it's streaming properly or it's not streaming properly, whichever one it is, we'll then work on it. All right, Eshe. All right. Mr. Olumide Lisomi, it is well. Thank you for the kind words. That's humbling. We'll see about it. All right, let's go to the next part of today's session. Someone says Apostle Babalola was from Ilofa in Kwara. It is in the Ekiti part of Kwara State. Guys. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Ola. Thank you, Kubu. You know what? Since we are all here, Katolo, let me just, Kini, what are we even doing? Let me just check. Okay. So he was born in Odowa. So let me read what Okubo wrote again. Where did you say it's from? It's from Ilofa. It's family settled in Efonlaye in Ekiti State. Stella Eden is here. Okay, be like now today we'll discuss Ayobalola. One of these days we should have a session on some of these men. When we get to, I said we're going to say about the party LA, how ethnicity influences politics in Nigeria, from what I can think right now. But at some point, we're going to mention people like Joseph Ayobalola, fantastic man. So he was born in Odowa, was into an Anglican family. I know that Odowa thing. What I'm looking for is Omoluboni Babaon. Oh, his resting place is there for Alaye. I know he died in Ede. Children of God, we'll find his place. Let's just take what they said on the social media right now. Again, someone like Ilofa. Okay, Ilofa is also one of those towns in Kwara State. So we're glad, right, that we have all these giants from Yoruba land. I think the point they're trying to make really with that stuff in the comment section on YouTube is that that same state is where a major Christian evangelist came from, right? Interestingly, even Bishop Oyedepo is from that same state. He's from Omuaran, which is in the same Kwara State, right? So this is not the time to be doing a major or lolori racing. All right, so we've had that settled. Hopefully we'll have less of these things, and maybe at some point we'll go back to our default setting where we respect everyone else and respect ourselves as well, and that will be a lot better than what we have right now. All right, let's go to class. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Live. Thank you for getting us this to other people to see what's going on this channel. It's a blessing to have everybody here into this session. All right. Mufasa says, Prof, now that you mentioned Pastor Edepo, do you remember Obi's audio? Anyway, it's good to be here. All right, let's go to class. How ethnicity influences politics in Nigeria, part 7. We're going to have a fantastic time today. I want to try as much as possible not to spend too much time on recaps so that we can just move very quickly into the pages we have not seen so far. So, by the way, we have past live sessions on YouTube. Busui always the live section. You can go through it and see past live sessions there. I mean, of course, we also have content on YouTube platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. Please go through them, especially YouTube, because it's you can see the titles. It's better structured. But wherever you are, enjoy the resources. Thank you. All right. So we've been discussing how ethnicity influences politics in Nigeria. We must be careful not to have a repeat of that going forward. Pushing Action Group, actually, when they were pushing Action Group, there were some Yoruba people who were influential, who were able to, who instead of working with other Yorubas, decided to pitch their tents with Zik. Now, I've said it before, I think it's okay to also repeat it, that for the most part, I think Yoruba people who work with folks from certain parts of Nigeria, in their minds, they're just in politics. We pick the opposition to the main party. We don't like Tinubu. We're going to be the opposition to Tinubu. In your mind, you are playing politics, and it's okay. But that's because that would only work if everything is about, how do they put this thing in Latin? Ceteris paribus, everything being equal, all things being equal. If all things were to be the way they should be, sometimes there are some of us who are contrarian by nature. We don't push back because the person is wrong. We push back because we must push back. In other words, somebody says something, right or wrong, you have a duty in your mind to say no. Even if the person is telling you how your life can be better, you are configured in such a way that you must push back. So that's what we have. And it's okay to have things like that if you live in a sane society or in a perfect world. And there's no perfect world anywhere. Not Nigeria, by the way. Nigeria is not perfect. I'm not saying it's insane, but not perfect, definitely. While you're pushing a party thing, the person you're working with may actually be pushing an ethnic agenda. And thank you very much for writing in the comment section, playing the devil's advocate. You're trying to play the devil's advocate with a person who is actually trying to get you off. And when they are done with your brother, in the name of the party, they would then discard with you. Like messenger. Because it's not really about you, it's not really about the country, it's about their ethnicity. This is what we've seen in history, and also what is playing out today. Does this mean that one group is bad, another group is good? That's not the point. Again, we're discussing political history. It's not about morality. I'm not saying one is good, one is bad. I'm just saying you've got to be wise, that you don't become a willing or unwilling tool in the hands of folks who are actually moving very strategically with the way that, looking at the way they're moving. All right, so let's get back. Let's just read some things that we read before, and then we'll move on today. So we talked last week, right? Last time, that was on Monday. We talked about last week damming, and also that for the most part, it's something that's been in the public for about 60 years. Wait, oh. Yes. It's been in the public space for about 60 years. Or at least more than, this is 2025. Are you making a mistake? What's your name? Pavik. I'm not Igbo. You are the ones who join one thing. You do herd mentality, like you put all your eggs in one basket. I'm not Igbo. I'm just trying to make it clear so that I want to make sure you're not confusing me with somebody close to you. I'm not Igbo. I don't tell people to join APC. I'm not APC. What we are saying, if you have ears, please hear what I'm saying. Any group that is against the growth of Yoruba people, we jettison that group. E.g., LP as it was constituted in the last election, it was against interests of Yoruba people. That does not mean every party that is not APC is against Yoruba people. Try and understand. It's not that difficult. LP as constituted in the last election was against, I'm not going to explain to you, that's not today's topic. If you want to know why, come for another. Sorry, I know you are talking about, you are distracting me. If you are shouting, you must have this. I don't have to explain. I've done it before. That's not today's topic. The point is, LP as constituted is no longer that way because they've used the party and dumped it. They ensured that the party was not just dominated by the people, but made sure that in state chapters, it was people from a particular ethnicity that were chairman of that party, the same ethnicity. It was the same group that was so vehement about Lagos. You almost think that like we owe them something, or like somebody is displacing. It was crazy. Push the Oba to the lagoon. Do this to them. Like kilo day. On top of waiting. Let me say this again. As a Yoruba person, you should be able to join any political party. I don't think about one party system. Even me, I don't belong to any. Which is why I can say what I'm saying. You can join anyone. But you can't join one that is clearly against the people. Yes, we have to take over Lagos. On top of what? If you don't take over Lagos, you cannot live in Lagos. How now? Well, you're not living in Lagos all the while. We must take over Lagos and push the Obas to the king. We must change their kings. On top of waiting. Election. So no, I'm not talking about APC. I'm talking about people that you see that the way they are moving, they are not thinking about, they don't have the best interest of the people at heart. And we've seen it play out several times. We've seen it in history, we've seen it in recent times, where people just are pushing a particular agenda, they get you sucked in because you are detribalized. But in reality, they don't really think about, it's like the song that Michael Jackson sang. All I want to say is that nobody cares about you like that. They're just doing what they want to do and using you. So no, I'm not saying join a party. I'm saying don't join a party that is against Yoruba people. Yoruba people should be able to join. See, there are many parties. Join as many as you, but you can't join as many, but join the one you want to join. But if it's against Yoruba's progress, they are telling you it's a religious war. Hello, Daddy. Tell your people in Southwest to vote because it's a religious war. There's no way that person has anything in store for Yoruba people. Because that same person, after a loss, was asking us that do you buy bread at a cheaper price in Ogun State? How come now only us, if we do example? By the way, there are real issues, but that's not today's topic. And I don't want to answer anymore on that particular point. If you're just joining, just settle down. You will hear me. So I see you saying you're not hearing me. It's because you're just coming in. If you can say that about LP, what would you then say about ABGA? I don't care about ABGA. ABGA did not come to Lagos. ABGA did not come to the Southwest. ABGA stayed where ABGA wanted to stay. And if ABGA had come to Lagos and ABGA had moved mad in the name of Igbo domination, we will say the same thing about that party. It's basic common sense. ABGA exists for the growth of Igbo people. Fine. ABGA is doing most of his stuff. The only place I think ABGA won outside Southeast was Nasarawa. I don't even know if they won with Labaramako. And that was years ago. So if they move, into Southwest, for instance, again, see, a party can move into another region. This thing is not difficult, though. What makes this thing seem hard? A party can move into another region and think of the best for the people in that region. E.g., Action Group went to the North in 1959. It was not to make northern northern region the backyard of Yoruba people. That was not the point. It was about the people in that place. But again, the reason AG didn't get everything he wanted to get was because it was against the northern establishment. What people do is not to come. If you go to another person's region with your party, you are Nigerian now. You are a Nigerian. You have a right to do so. You can organize your party. You can even have a guy in Ibadan. That's your. But if that party is against the wishes of the local people, then that means that you are trying to do something wrong in their place. That's the basic it's commonsensical. A party should be. You can have NPC anywhere, NCNC, AG in different parts of the country, but whenever you get to another person's territory, you are there as strong. All right, I've answered enough questions. Let's go to today's topic. I beg, no ask any question again. No, for now, please. Any question we want to ask, I beg, may align with what you want to discuss. God bless you. All right, so let's get back into this. Just repeat some of the things we talked about earlier. We mentioned how Sidi Onyema had said what he said in 1945, and that was after the formation of the Igbo National Caucus. So, sorry guys, I'm going to have to mute this guy. You can't stop yourself. You're not here. I'm not here because of you. Where was I? The time that was not reversed. So there was Calabar, Lagos, and in Port Harcourt. And later on in the 1940s, it became Igbo Federal Union. Then it was in 43. And then much later it was called Igbo State Union. And now, right then in the 1940s, they had a group called the Igbo National Caucus, who also, of course, belonged to the Igbo State Union. And the Igbo National Caucus had this plan for Nigeria, and the plan was, hatched in 1944. And I think it slipped Onyema's tongue, I should say, in 1945 when he was at the Island Club, Lagos. I don't know, maybe he had too much to, Anyway, he made this statement. And his statement was that the Igbo domination of Nigeria was only a matter of time. Now, he said that in Lagos, Island Club. Yeah, Freudian sleep. Here's the crazy part. That statement that he made caused riots in the north. Now, there's a video There was a video that trended a while back of, I think it was Chimamanda talking about how, Nigeria's always hated them, they fought with them, even in 1945 they killed Igbos. One thing that we don't usually ask for some reason, weird reasons I should say, is we don't ask why. Now, no killings can be justifiable, unless of course you're doing self-defense. But killing people, massacre, you can't justify it. But it's important to understand it, at least if for nothing, so that you don't repeat it. In this case, for instance, the massacres in the north in 1945 was actually a direct result of Onyema's speech in Lagos, when he said the Igbo domination of Nigeria was only a matter of time. Common people in the north, politicians in the north, everybody took advantage of that. Looking around them, they saw the Igbos occupying strategic posts. Regardless of how they got there, the point is that they were there. To now get that message from the south, from Lagos, means that they were, or meant to them, that they were at the risk of losing their place. 45. Again, this is not to say that it's a repetition of that again in 53 and also in 66. It's always, we talk a lot about what happened, but we don't talk about why those things happened. Now, it says here that the caucus, the aim of the Igbo National Caucus was summarized that the domination of Nigeria by the Igbo is only a question of time. Indeed, the caucus fixed 1964 as a target date, and the later changed it to 1969 for our perpetual rule of the Federation. Now, I want to say this. I know there are different people listening to me, you belong to different ethnicities and all of that, but understand this. If a young person, no one is blaming you for all of these things. I think it's important to put out this caveat every time. Nobody's blaming you for this, but you have to understand, to say that in English now work. You have to understand how things are, or what made things the way they are. All right? And one of those things is not just indiscretion or words spoken, but unbridled ambition. And that's why if there's any group in this country that has asked for unity more than any other group, it's the Igbo. And it's because of what I read from two books the other day, or three. I read it from Majiparam, and I read it also from Anthony Nauro, when they said they need unity. They need it. It's not because one group is more patriotic than another group. It's because they literally need it for survival purposes. And we're going to get into some interesting things today. Anyway, so their plan as of 1944 was that by 1964 they will have the perpetual rule of the Federation. Now, I've said this before. If a political party says this, there's nothing wrong with it. You could say that they were boastful and bashful, but it's a party. That's what parties do. For instance, PDP said they were going to rule Nigeria for, 70 years? They were boasting, but it's a party. It's a political party. They were flexing. But for an ethnic group to have a plan to dominate the Federation perpetually and write it down and sign that document, that's something. That's something. And it's that ethnic group that calls everybody tribalists. The caucus fixed 1964 as the target date and later changes to 1969. Let's know why they changed it. They later changed it to 1969 for our perpetual rule of the Federation. Why did they change it? Because what happened in 64 happened. We talked about it. They were using of that, and then of course there was a coup that was planned by Ojukwu in 64. Some things did not work out, so they had to now create another thing for themselves, give themselves another 5 years in order to accomplish the same goal of perpetual rule of Nigeria. Not a party talking here, it's an ethnicity. If you see me looking away, it's because I'm trying to look at what's happening on the other end. But stay with me. Let's continue. Many observe. Okay, so let's just to another part. We also talked about the fact that the discovery of oil in commercial quantities and the creation of the Midwest state out of the former Western region began to make the Igbo leaders in the Eastern region say things which their northern partners felt extremely offensive and provocative. All right. Mineral oil raised among the Igbo leaders the hope of inexhaustible resources with which a bold and dynamic social and economic program for the eastern region could be conceived. Again, the oil was in the eastern region, but the oil was not in Igbo land. People don't like me saying these things. People curse me out, but who cares? And that's actually one of the major reasons for Biafra. A lot of, and you know the sad part is that even this morning I still read it from one person on Twitter when they were like, do you know, no, someone was talking about the site, the region that's called Eastern region or Southeast, and the person was like, no, Southeast had all the places, it was Southeast that was giving us all the oil that we're using. So no, there's no between Eastern region and Southeast. And they're talking about Igbo land though. Eastern region was not Igbo land. Eastern region was Igbo land and other places. And by the way, it's just geography. Like, Western region was not just Yoruba land either. Northern region was not just Hausa land. It's amazing how you have to explain these basic things to it as well. Began to say things. They began to come up with plans. For instance, in '63, there was a census crisis where the North had numbers that were more than every other person put together, which of course was, I mean, a sign that something was up. Like, maybe that was not the real number. And by the way, I don't think we've had very sensible census figures in Nigeria since before independence. Since independence. You know, we've just been counting all kinds of things. But we've also had like alternatives that we also use to judge what's in this up. You know, but generally speaking, there was a crisis then because the North was had too many people, and then the East was, their plan was supposed to materialize in '64. This was '63. The census figures were off, and so that was when the crisis started. And in that year, Okpara actually instituted a committee to study the viability of a separate nation. This was in 1963. So by '64, everybody was flexing. They had succeeded also in having another region apart from the Eastern region under the directorship. Okay, good. Under the control of the Igbos, which was the Midwest. The premier of the Eastern region, Dr. Michael Okpara, began to threaten secession and began to argue that revenue be allocated according to the principle of derivation. I said I was going to say something on from that, and also export receipts handled by marketing boards, like the one we explained the other day. Mining rents, royalties, mineral fees, and then company corporate taxes, stamp duties, license fees, and then the British Treasury grants and the intergovernment transfer. When you made money, I mean, depending on the time we're talking about, so by the 60s, you could keep part to reach something. From 1958 forward, his recommendation was that the region don't produce Guinea will have 50% derivation. How you get to keep half of the money you make. How am I not getting the full meaning of DPA? Sorry, I'll find it, please. What's DPA? DPA something pool. Can you come? Jeez, I can't believe I forgot that. 1 second, let me just check. Distributable pool account. I know there was pool somewhere there. Distributable pool account. So that is the money that you get to share with different regions, and then 20% will go to the federal government. So if, for instance, you have oil, if you use derivation, you get to keep 50% of that. Then 30% goes to the pool, and that pool sometimes they have different ways of sharing that money. They used to do it based on needs at a particular point in time. where based on what each region needs. So for instance, you may not get as much based on the fact that maybe you don't need as much as the other region, even if, you have made, some money out of it. And there was a time when the Western region was saying that they should do it based on derivation, and the Eastern region said no. But as soon as they struck oil, the Eastern region said it should be based on derivation. So that, I don't want to spend too much time on this because we have a lot of grounds to cover today. So he says the control of the premier of the Eastern region, Dr. Michael Okpara, began to threaten secession and began to argue that revenue be allocated according to the principle of derivation. The control of the Midwest government by the Igbo premier, Dennis Osadebe, only served to embolden the Igbo leadership that the time had arrived to call off the bluff of the Northern region. The census of 1963, which revealed that the population of the North was even greater than that of the rest of Nigeria by a margin much wider than had been contemplated, puts the patience of the Igbo National Caucus on trial. The implication of accepting such figures they saw was that the North would be able to control the federal government with a simple majority, should the Northerners decide. Excuse me. The implication of this was that the North was... the implication of accepting such figures they saw was that the North would be able to control the federal government with a simple majority should the Northerners so decide, and there was no incontrovertible evidence that the Northerners could not decide to use their position now that the Southerners were proving ungrateful. Then we went on to talk about what happened between the North and the East, and the writer says here that in the circumstances, both the Igbo and the Hausa Fulani leadership had to be involved in a trial of strength. The stage for embattlement was neither the North nor the East, but the West. And here, again, we mentioned how, yes, they had a plan to do what they wanted to do in Yoruba land, but we allowed it. How? Because we had hostilities amongst ourselves. It says here, Yoruba in the action group unleashed towards themselves intra-ethnic hostility of the worst type. On the platform of tribal chauvinism, the faction led by Chief Esther Akintola succeeded in persuading a section of the Yoruba NCNC to see the writing on the wall that the Igbo were seeking to dominate the country against the interests of the Yoruba, which was true, by the way. And then it says, by the way, Okpara had been made to succeed to the leadership of the party, thus superseding Chief J.O. Fadaunsi, national vice president. And the way the Igbo went on throwing their dominance in the face of the Yoruba in the federal universities and corporations, airways, railway, Nigerian Port Authority, many loyal Yoruba NCNC began to demand an end to the Igbolization of their party. If you think what happened with LP is like something that's never happened before, think again. It's been happening before. Igbolization of the NCNC. And we've talked about it, how NCNC itself was created. It was founded in Lagos. And the four major groups that made up NCNC, there was no Igbo majority in any of those groups. It was NNDP, the party about Macaulay, founded in 1923. It was TUC, the Trade Union Congress. It was Lagos Market Women Association, and it was the student movement. And there was nothing so Igbotic about it. Right, it was supposed to be a nationalist organization. Nobody even shouted, "Oh, Yoruba people own the party." Nobody thought about it like that. It was just a nationalist organization. So we're all doing something together as a nation. Until folks who had a clannish mindset took over the party in 1946 and turned it into an Igbo party. And when they did that, when it was time for even Zik to go to the federal, to the central government, what he did was, instead of allowing the vice president to become the new president of the NCNC, who happens to be a Yoruba man, Fadaunsi, they made sure that an Igbo man became the president, Michael Okpara. And also made sure that, contrary to the plans of the Edo, they made sure that Osage or any of those Edo Bini people would never become the premier of the Midwest. They made sure it was an Igbo man, Osadebe, even though the Igbos were a minority in the Midwest. If you think you are playing politics with some people, good luck. So Akintola was talking about what they were doing, and by the way, this whole thing that he mentioned is what birthed the document that we discussed here the other day. We discussed this document in a video on YouTube. The video is called Achebe, Meritocracy or Nepotism. Please watch it. And if you want to read the document, please go on Redomi Global. It's on Telegram. Go on Redomi Global and look for white paper on political alignment in Western Nigeria. That document shows you the and how it was taken over by a particular ethnic group. We're going to read more of that later. And please don't say it was in the past. It happened a while back in Anambra. It's even recent. Less than 100 posts in a federal government institution. 65 of the people in that institution are from Enugu. 811 were from Anambra State. They work there, no reach 900. 811. I said I was going to be petty with this thing. Shame or not, shame or cooking, I should talk about it. Guys, give me a second. We are still here, but I'm going to read something right now. Because when people go around telling everybody that everybody is a tribalist, it's important to be reminding ourselves. Hakon, Ishiti, like nobody should be gaslighting anybody and trying to hide what you're doing. 1 second, I want to read something to you. I think I've read it here before, but I think it bears mentioning. So there's an opportunity in Enugu. I want to read to you what the prerequisites. You can now decide. 1 second, please. Number. I know where to find it. Just give me 1 second. This is important, by the way. So if it takes us a while, don't worry. I'll make it worth your while. Okay. Recruitment of health workers by ENS. Recruitment of health workers by ENS. What they came up with. In fact, let me just read on this one alone. This one is even good enough. Junior community health extension workers. They had two interesting criteria. Number one is that you must be the indigene and resident in the ward of application. In other words, if you want to become a community worker in that ward, you have to be from that ward. Like how do you call it now? It must be your ward of origin. You know how we talk about state of origin in Nigeria? This one is ward of origin. In other words, if you are not from that word, you don't get that job. I found it. God is good. Let me read to you. Enugu State Government, call for application. The Enugu State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, in collaboration with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and in line with the transformative health agenda of His Excellency Barrister Dr. Peter Ndubisimba, under the Renewed Hope Health Initiative, invites applications for the community-based health workforce program across 260 wards of Enugu State. So you can be the junior community health extension worker or assistant community-based volunteer. Now, these are the requirements. Number one, you must be indigene. Please power tap on TikTok. We have an activity. We don't want to lose the life, please. If you're on TikTok, please power tap. 1 second, I have to drag a puzzle. TikTok, please, let's not, I know you're busy, you're working, but just use one and do like this, Thank you. All right, let me go on. The first requirement is that you must be an indigene and resident in the ward of application. You are from that ward. When we say ward, we're saying councillorship ward. You must be an indigene of that ward. This has gone beyond state of origin or local government of origin. We're not discussing wards now. So you must be from that ward and you must be resident in that ward. Then second prerequisite is that you must have a valid JCHEW certificate. In other words, being from that word of origin, having that word of origin was more important, or is more important to them than even having a valid certificate. And then number 3 is that you must have good communication skills, including local dialect. You must be able to speak the local dialect. Not that you can speak Igbo, but that you can speak that dialect. Now, these are the people that tell you that you want to have a governor in Lagos State. Why must you speak Yoruba? Have we not gone beyond that? But where you are from, they're not even asking for the language. They're asking for a specific dialect in a particular word. And the person must be from that word of origin. But you are not tribalist. Is every other person as a tribalist? Am I against this? No. Whatever you want to do in your place, do it. You just don't get to go around Nigeria telling people how to live and telling them how you are for national unity, national cohesion. They all should open their doors for you, and they are tribalists for not doing what you want. But when you get back home, you don't even allow somebody from the next village to get a job in your ward. Haba. By the way, if you're from Enugu and you're interested, you don't even close at September 11 to September 15. Don't close. I read that thing a while back, but it's important to repeat it. So people remember, because it was in Anambra that they were doing state of origin. You must be from that state. You must be an indigenous of that state to get a job in the health sector. They announced that the other day. Enugu is now giving us another level. This new level is word of origin. Someone says on TikTok, it says that means someone from Anambra cannot even apply. Someone from Anambra, someone from the other ward cannot even apply. Let alone someone from the other local government. Let alone someone from another state. State is Jinoju. You see how clannish that is? If you talk about people living in the world, it will make sense, because it's community health. You want to make sure that they know the community, they are able to work amongst the people, so it makes sense. But no, not that you're not just that you are resident there, you must also be from there. But these are the same group. I mean, these are the same people that will tell the entire nation and tell you that you are bigots, you are tribalists. I don't think they are tribalists, by the way. I think they're just doing what is good for them. But I think they lost their right to be having conversations when it comes to national unity. That's what I think. Or let's be this way, they can talk about national unity, but don't accuse anybody of tribalism, because what you are doing is worse than what anybody has ever done. May God help us in this country. Now let's get back to the book. So this whole thing, was what was practiced back then in the 60s, especially between 1960 and 1964. The entire airways, railway, Nigerian Port Authority, universities, Yabatech, UI, Unilag, everywhere was filled with people from a particular ethnic group. And they had something to say about it. I'm going to read that later. But for now, let me face Yoruba people. So we had our own issues. We were divided. One part was working with the north, the other was working with the east, and both parts were trying to destroy each other, which is crazy. And that's why I like the fact that Awo was very, very insistent on not allowing 67, because what would have happened would have been worse. The theater of war would have been Yoruba land, because when they were fighting amongst themselves politically, the theater of war was Yoruba land, whether it was in 62 or in 65 or even in 66. All right. Somebody says they rationalized it and said it was local. Yes, if it was local, it can be word of residence, not word of origin. That is clannish. And it's also primitive. I mean, if we're keeping it a buck, respectfully, that's primitive. But I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? All right. So, Yoruba land or Western region became the theater in the West to the best advantage. For the caucus, the North was not a danger. The West was the danger. Worried that the premature jubilation and indiscreet statements of some Igbo individuals that tended to warn the Yoruba and the Hausa Fulani of our objective, that is, seizure of the control of the country, might endanger the cause, the caucus records enemies of our fatherland have alerted the decadent Yorubas and the reactionary Northerners. The indiscreet utterances of many of our own men have contributed largely to the dangers which now beset us when we have almost reached the promised land. These stupid utterances must stop. However, the caucus believed that the cause was not yet lost. So this is what they said. Despite the anti-Igbo propaganda now prevailing in the north and west, a survey of the situation shows quite clearly that though the situation is critical, it is not hopeless. In the east, despite the amateurish leadership of Okpara, the Onitsha Igbo and Igbo dispute has quietened. Somebody who is the amateurish leader of a region was forced on the entire party, even though there's a vice president who was supposed to be president, but because it was Yoruba, it was not made president. And you are saying that his leadership is amateurish. Anyway, let's read on. In the east, despite the amateurish leadership of Okpara, the Onitsha Igbo and Igbo dispute has quietened. The Efiks, the Ibibios, and the Rivers tribes are still under complete control, even though their dreams of their own state have been completely shattered. Despite the intrigues of Okotiebo and Omosage, we have succeeded in clamping Osadebe firmly on the Midwest saddle, thus taking care of the Urubos, the Edos, and the Shekiri. There is nothing to fear in the Midwest but threats. The West is now the problem. The custodians of Igbo chauvinism were convinced that the obstacle of the West was not an insuperable one, that all that needed done was to splinter the NNDP leadership by tearing away Akintola from Fani Kayode, an action group renegade who had joined the NCNC, and then the NNDP in protest against Igbolization of the NCNC. The strategy to achieve the desired end as recorded by them was as follows. Please pay attention. Play up Awolowo at all times. This will keep up the resistance of the action group members and stop them from uniting with the NNDP to form a solid Yoruba front. Who is writing this? Igbo National Caucus. When? 1964. Who signed this document? Mbadiwe, the Ozumba Mbadiwe, and Mbanugo. And you find this in the RUL collection of the Civil War. You also find this in this book, The Educated Elites in Nigerian Society, published in 1974. Play up Awolowo at all times. This will keep up the resistance of the action group members and stop them from uniting with the NNDP to form a solid Yoruba front. This is vital, and there's no longer a headache or danger to us. Intensify all propaganda against Akintola. Don't hold that he is sufficiently discredited already. He is still dangerous. We must always keep the quarrel. By the way, Papa was in prison around this time. We must always keep the quarrel between himself and the action group alive. This will ensure the disunity amongst the Yoruba leaders. Seek all means to discredit Fani Kayode. He is the real and only barrier to our domination of the West and our ultimate control of the Federation. What did you see here? There was a plan, having dominated the eastern region and the Midwest region, the plan was to now dominate the western region and then the Federation. That's why they called it a perpetual rule of the Federation. How can you have a plan to have a perpetual rule of the Federation? Listen, there is no group in Nigeria that is perfect. I say it, I think it's important to say it again. Every group has its own issues. But to have that mindset to dominate everybody in their own land. Somebody says, what year was this caucus saying all this? 1964. They clamped Osadebe in the Midwest. They've taken care of the Urubos, the Edos, and the Shekiris, despite the intrigues of Omosage and Okotiebo. They dealt with the folks in present-day South, the Efiks, the Ibibios, the Rivers tribes. They are completely shattered. Their dreams are completely shattered. Dreams for their own state, in their own land, completely shattered. That's what they use now. Yoruba people, they must make sure they don't unite. For the North, by the way, they had a plan for the North as well. You know what? It's not in this book. Let me read it from another book, from the other IUL stuff. Let me read to you what they planned for the North. These are the people that tell you that you are tribalist. In fact, they even said one very interesting thing. They said, outwardly, all our official and unofficial utterances must adopt an opposite procedure, and we must always do our best to appear honorable and cooperative. Remember, a statesman's words do not have to agree with his acts. How are you a statesman if your words don't agree with your acts? Let me tell you what they have for the North. Everything must be done to appear to appease the Sardauna and Ribadu, but Balewa we can always deal with. If we can then win the West at the next regional election by keeping the Yoruba divided, we shall secure control of the federal cabinet and the country, not in 1964 as we envisaged, but in 1969. 5 years may be a long time in our personal lives, but to a people such as ours, it is further time for preparation. Those are the nationalists. Outside the eastern region, the rest of the country felt that the danger of Igbo domination was real. By 1964, the educated elites in the northern region had begun to react to the believed threat by demanding that the Igbo be expelled from the north. If you haven't seen that before, please check our videos on YouTube on why the Igbos were expelled in Cameroon in 1948. Something similar happened in Cameroon as well. Domination in Oni. And Faith Jumari, thank you for the gift. Thank you so much. And somebody put up a chest, I think is a treasure chest on TikTok. Thank you for that as well. By the way, you don't see any plan of how to actually make their own region better. You just plan to take over other people's regions. And for the North, there's another document, I think it's inside, where they talked about the details of how they actually pushed the Northern leaders, especially Sardauna, to give a picture that they were together. Meanwhile, in reality, they were trying to, gain an inroad, so to speak, into Northern politics. And the Northerners discovered the plan, and by 1964, they began to ask that Igbos be expelled from the North. Again, if you are doing this good and bad, they are bad people, please, that's not what this conversation is about. I know this is I'm putting out a caveat. I'm not saying anybody is good or anybody is bad, but Nigerian politics is complex. Nigerian history is complex. Don't be naive. Be doing Talokon. It should be. So I saw a video yesterday. Said there's Wazobia. There's Wazobia. And since 1999, one particular region has not become Kinikon. In my mind, I was like, say Igbo has not become something. Igbo has not become president. I was like, as the Zo become president, how many Hausa presidents have you had since 1999? None. And by the way, where did we write it that we're going to be doing based on ethnicity? Should we say we'll be doing based on competence? It's not competency. I'll be competence. Which one? No one has not. You don't understand why some people are playing the game the way they are playing, and I'm not going to explain everything. I know you are very wise people, so you can tell what I'm driving. I mean, what I'm trying to say. It. Let's get back into this. So by 64, the Northerners said they've got to expel the Igbos. In the regional House of Assembly and in the Kaduna press, there was no missing of words. Quote, the Igbo should be deprived of all lands that had been allocated to them. There were too many. This literal same thing happened in Cameroon. Sorry. Somehow, we have great people come for the live session, but also have retards sometimes. One of them I just had to mute. I've announced for everybody. I hope you're happy now. So, One of the things that they came up with in 1948 in Cameroon was that every land that was sold to the Igbos must be taken back and given to the native authority. That was 48. In 64, the Northerners are doing the same thing. Are they right? That's not my point. Whether they are right or they are wrong, you can decide. But I'm just telling you what they did. They said the Igbo should be deprived of all lands that had been allocated to them. There were too many in federal establishments in the north. I think this is actually pretty extreme, but I'm just reading. They had infested the north as petty traders. Laws should be enacted to the effect that the northernization policy, just like what they are saying in Ghana right now. Again, find the pattern. You see the pattern, you draw the parallels, and then you can tell what's happening. Not much has changed. The more things change, the more they remain the same. So they said laws should be enacted to the effect that the nationalization policy be extended to the petty traders. The Premier, Sir Ahmadu Bello, and obviously the most grieved of what he regarded as ingratitude of the Igbo, declared in the House of Assembly in February 1964. This is what the Sardauna said. It is my most earnest desire that every post in the region, however small it is, to be filled by a northerner. Of course, we talked about this before, and I've also recommended that if we want to understand the northernization policy and understand the rationale behind it, please read the Sardauna's autobiography. It's titled My Life. He went into details. We'll not talk about it right now because it's going to change the conversation, but we'll talk about, it's actually important to talk about though. Not right now. Not right now. We've talked about it before. Maybe another time. In the Midwest, which had been created in 1962 by the NPC-NCNC coalition to further weaken the action group, the non-Igbo NCNCers began to wonder whether the party they had been sacrificing so much to support was not proving synonymous with the Igbo tribe. To this end, Festus Okotie-Eboh and Humphrey Omosage began to be less loyal to the NCNC as Osadebe. The Igbo premier was clamped upon them, and as allegations of Igboism in the civil service of the region festered. Last time, we read a letter that Okotie-Eboh wrote to Osadebe, that there was a plan, a conspiracy, he said, to essentially destroy his people, the Shekiris, in the Midwest. In that one page, he mentioned conspiracy at least 3 times. And the truth of the matter is that that conspiracy was real, and it's important to repeat it again. You know what? Let me read it again. Give me a second. I think it's here. Where's that thing? Where is it? Okay, found it. This is Okotie-Eboh writing to Dennis Osadebe. I do not know the source or the details of your information that I hold you to be engaged in a conspiracy against my people, the Shekiris, and myself, but I would have thought your great experience would have shown you the wisdom of seeking the other side of the story before resorting to the device of a unilateral press release. After all, even if you do not wish to approach me directly, there are at least 3 common platforms on which the issue could have been raised. The NCNC genuinely believe that there is a conspiracy against my people, the Shekiris, who into the constitution of the new region. This feeling is so strong among my people that they would prefer to remain outside the new region if they cannot feel secure in their future. This has nothing to do with my position, for, as I have said, I am not interested in holding high office there. Perhaps you feel that knowing the strength of the feelings of my people, I should still have kept silent so as not to endanger the arrangements for the creation of the new region. If a similar situation was to face the people of Asaba Division, I cannot believe that you would remain silent. Rather, you would speak out without fear of the consequences, for only in this way would you prove yourself to be an honest and sincere leader with the true interests of your people at heart. I trust you will do me the honor of acknowledging that I too can be influenced by the same motives. There is abundant proof that such a conspiracy exists, whether you are personally involved in it or are merely being used as an unwilling tool by those who have consistently opposed the Shekiri people. A few years after this, that man was killed. He was killed in the 1966 school. It was in the midst of the chaos created in the Western Nigeria by the controversies over the election to the House of Assembly there that some elements in the Nigerian army struck on 15 January 1966. Whilst one must wait until the authentic sources are made available, which we have now, thank God, it's been more than 50 years since he wrote this book, so we have all those details now. I've discussed those earlier. It says here, in Lagos, Benin City, Ibadan, Enugu, and Kaduna, the last 4 regional capitals at that time, certainly facts are clear. It would appear that the educated elite in the army had been infected with tribalism. The coup was executed by and large by the Igbo. Witnessed the killing of all northern Nigerian of. Also murdered were S.L. Akintola, the Premier of the West, and Ahmadu Bello, the Premier of Northern Nigeria. In the circumstances, the view began to gain ground that the coup was evidence that they examined the proposal. Let me just quickly explain something here. So whatever you saw happen in 1966 was a fulfillment of a dream that was at least 15 years in the making. And also, he mentioned how by the way, when people say Igbo coup, again, it was an Igbo coup. No questions about that. And one of the things that makes you even understand why it's an Igbo coup is the fact that even when that thing happened, the Igbos themselves said it was their coup. They said it. They claimed it. They said it was theirs. It's okay. The coup was in January. By April, 3 months later, Ironsi decided to promote officers. Again, I'm recapping, we're going to move very fast. This recapping is a bit like lecture on his own, but we are together. He went to promote officers in the army. He chose to promote 18. Those 18 turned out to be all Igbos. I don't know who spoke to him and said, listen, no, I say we need to mix this thing up. So they're like, what should we do? Let's go. A lot of northern officers were even killed earlier in January. We've killed people who mentioned that it was their own coup. The people. And you don't even have to mention it, to be honest. Just study the people who planned the coup and how it was executed. And when I say the people who planned the coup, again, for the upteenth time, the coup had 3 original planners, none of whom was Kaduna Zogo, contrary to popular belief. Kaduna Zogo became very popular with this coup because he was the one who broadcast in Kaduna. He was the one who went on radio. He was the one whose voice we heard. Therefore, we assumed he was Yoga. He wasn't. How am I speaking like that? I wasn't even there, right? Somebody is thinking that. Let me tell you how I can speak like this. Because I read the special branch report, and I've read a number of books on the war. I'm sure there are many more to read, but the ones I've read, everybody agrees with them. Even the ones that are lying, they can't lie around it. But if you read the special branch report, you discover that the original planners were 3. Ifajuna, Okafor, Oji. They brought in Onfrichukuka. Then they brought in Anufuro. Anufuro then brought in Nzogu. Nzogu then brought in Ademwega, making 7. But the original planners were 3. And that information did not come from my head. It came from the special branch report, which was released in April of 66 after interrogating 200 people that were involved in that coup. They will not kill anybody. That's the ratio. On the 15th of January in the morning, But they said they will not kill anybody. And then they said something. It did something crazy on the around 7 a.m. of that same day. He shot at David Ejo. David Ejo said it in his book. That one about whether they're going to kill anybody or not, you can find that one from books, 2 books. Sorry, I have to charge this thing. I remember where I am. 2 books, pal. You read Go 1, The Biography of a Soldier Statesman by J. Isawa Eligo. You read The Tragedy Without Heroes by Hilary M. Njoku. Those 2. And then Reminiscences by David Ejo. Put all those things together, you see what happened on the morning of 15th. The point is, it was planned. We don't want to become the victims of people's narrative of, oh, they did this to us, they did that to us. Nah, that's the reason it's important to have this information. Not because you want to weaponize anything against, oh, Igbos are bad. No, that's not the point. It's just that the person that did terrible things is the one who is crying and saying you are bad. That's not fair. Let's continue. So they came up with that Unification Decree, May 24, 1964, which, by the way, led to a new set of massacres in the north. So again, there's nothing that justifies killing, but when you heard that people were killed and there was massacres, always ask what happened. Now, it's going to make you look like you are not a human being. You don't have compassion, but not asking